Hello and welcome to this special Sunday broadcast. Good afternoon. I'm Tanya Bhattacharya joining you from our Mumbai studio. It's been 5 days now since the government announced the mega cash cleanup, demonetizing 500,000 rupee notes. And there continues to be little respite for cash-starved people queuing up outside banks and ATMs. To get a better sense of how things are progressing and more importantly, how soon before normalcy returns to our daily lives, we're joined by ace banker and SBI Chairman Arundhati Bhattacharya. Good afternoon, Ms. Bhattacharya. Thank you so much for taking time out for us. No doubt, I'm sure this must be a testing time for you and your colleagues as well. But, you will appreciate that it's quite distressing for the common man as well. Citizens have been thronging ATMs and banks. By when can we expect normalcy to return? And also do tell us what additional measures you're taking to tide over this crisis.
Well, let me first start with the measures. Amongst the measures, of course, is the fact that we have been working very, very late on most of these days. The first 2 days, in fact, many of our people worked late till even 10:30, 11 in some of the branches. Even yesterday, counters closed pretty late, 8:30, 9. Though in some of the branches, they started closing the shutters by about 7 or so, depending upon what kind of crowd was there. Having said that, today the lines are very heavy, mainly because people who have been working throughout the week, they have taken this holiday to come in and do their changes, their exchanges, as well as drawing money, and we are cognizant of that, and we will take care to see that we handle as many people as possible. Currently, most of the branches are only working towards ensuring that the deposit customers are handled properly. So also the exchange, the people who come in for the exchange and for the withdrawals. However, if you look at the numbers, actually speaking, yesterday we saw a slight fall in the numbers of people coming into deposit and some increase in the numbers of people who are now withdrawing. Besides the several counters that we have opened, we have created additional lines for senior citizens, for women. In many of the larger branches where there is space, we have created awnings so that people don't have to stand out in the sun. Also, the ATMs, every day more and more ATMs are coming up. Today around 46,000 of our ATMs are operational. The calibration for the 2,000 rupee notes is going forward. We are hopeful from tomorrow we will be able to start issuing from the ATMs 2,000 rupee notes as well. The calibration for the 500 rupee notes has also begun. We have received the data regarding the calibration requirements for 500, and that also we'll be starting to do by today afternoon and testing it out in today and tomorrow. And as soon as we receive the full remittances of that, which should be in 5-6 days time, we will start putting those notes into the ATMs also. Even in the initial stages, I had said that it would take about 10 days for normalcy to be restored. I continue to stand by that normalcy will be restored in about 10 days time. I would also suggest, that we tell the people that there is absolutely no need to panic. They can come at their convenience and withdraw money or deposit money, whichever they need to do. For depositing of old notes, the time is up to 30th of December. So there is still a lot of time left and people can do it at their convenience. Regarding the ATMs, obviously that is the pain point at this point of time. We are cognizant of that. We are trying to take care of it. Hopefully, as the 2000 gets calibrated, the ATMs running out of money will come down appreciably. And once the 500s are restored, I think you will get back normalcy very, very quickly.
Ma'am, actually, I want to talk about something we heard the finance minister say just yesterday. In his press conference, he said it will take 2 weeks for ATMs to dispense new currency notes. So firstly, are you confident that you will be able to meet that timeline? You've said that new notes are not made for the old ATM machines. So how much of a setback is that for, your bank? And do you now need to sort of overhaul all ATMs? And if that's the case, then, who's going to bear the cost?
No, see, it's nothing, it's not very costly. All it needs is recalibration. So obviously some cost is there because people have to go to it by ATM and do the recalibration. but it is not something that is hugely costly. Obviously, the note dimensions are different. So to that extent, that recalibration of the cassette, as it is called, has to be done. So that will get done. Again, as I said, we have already received some 500 rupee notes. So it gives us the dimensions and the other features that need calibration. So that is going to start today afternoon. 2 weeks, what the finance minister said is perfectly correct, because he has been talking about the entire country. As I said, we can't do everything at one point of time. Till now, we have been able to bring up 46,000. We have to bring up another 10,000. And then again, the recalibration for both the 2,000 and the 5,000. And then ensuring that everybody has this 5,000. 2,000 now is available everywhere. So we have been able to send out the 2,000 remittances to every chest. It's the 500 when it comes. How we will be able to send it across quickly, we have to see. But then it will happen, and which is why I said that I stand by that 10-day time. We should be able to restore more or less some amount of normalcy by then. But for every ATM to start dispensing in the way that we used to do earlier, I think the FM's timeline is absolutely realistic.
Okay, let's talk about, the kind of money we've seen in the system. 60,000 crores on last check is, what we were sort of drilling it down to in terms of the kind of money we've seen flow into the system. Nearly 40,000, if I'm not wrong, crores is for SBI. How much more cash do you expect will come into the system by, say, the 30th of December? And also, we'd like to know what's the average amount that people are depositing? Yes.
Till 11:50 last night, our deposits alone are 64,576 crores.
Okay.
So I don't think you have the numbers quite right. You have to check on the system numbers, of course. And regarding the average ticket size, this is difficult for me to say. I really don't have the number. I will have that worked out.
Okay, great. Ma'am, I know that you've lauded this cash cleanup, but the public criticism is only rising every day, and I'm sure you're cognizant of that. Do you still think that it's going to be an overwhelming success, this cash cleanup that the government has initiated, or is it just turning out to be a banker's nightmare as much as it is turning out to be a nightmare for the common man? Do you think that somewhere we were unprepared for this kind of major switch?
No, I don't think so. I think some of these things have to be done suddenly, and to do it suddenly, you have to maintain some amount of secrecy about the whole process. So I think if pains are being taken right now, another few days and the pains will be over and it will be considered a big success. While you are having the pains, obviously you don't consider it to be something very nice. But I think, in the first few days, the public were also hoarding whatever currencies they were getting. They were not really going out in the market and shopping. Today, just now, one of my colleagues told me that his driver had gone in order to buy something and he gave a 2,000 rupee note. It was easily accepted. His bill was 300 and he got back 1,700 without any questions asked. So people are beginning to spend. You see, what happens is when a wheel gets stopped, you need to put in, some amount of grease in order to get it rolling again. Now, once it starts rolling and the grease, sort of gets into the system, you will find that the rolling will become easier and easier as they go forward. So it is with this system, for a day or two, it had sort of come to a halt, and now people are back in the markets, they are purchasing again. It will take a little time, but overall it will happen. And I have no doubts at all that the pains that the people are taking are well worth it. So whether it be the common man, whether it be the bankers, whether it be our regulators who are also working round the clock, whether it be the government officials who are also in the same boat as us, but I think it's all very much worth it.
Ma'am, there's also a view that, inflation could come down because of this move. How do you see the real impact?
Well, one thing is definitely there, those areas where there was a lot of cash component, there obviously we believe that the prices have got to come down. If you have a large inventory of real estate and you are waiting for a black component in order to sell it, today you will have to come with a, maybe actually ensure that you are able to sell it in white. And therefore, if the demand comes down, then the prices have a tendency of coming down. That is why we believe that this is disinflationary, because there will not be unaccounted money chasing goods. It will be accounted money. So to that extent, demand may come down for a little while. But again, as I said, it is a good thing, because whatever will be the demand will have to happen in white. To that extent, it will be accounted for. It will be easier for us bankers also to understand people's turnovers and their actual requirements. And of course, for the tax and the revenue authorities also to understand what should be the amount that needs to be taxed. I believe that overall this is a very good step. It definitely helps in cleaning up the system. Not only that, let me just give you one example. Yesterday in the finance minister's meeting, somebody was saying that, the tea garden workers, they are paid in cash, and now you are saying open accounts. Is it not going to impact their productivity? My answer is that it will impact their productivity for 1 month, because they'll have to stand in a queue in order to open their accounts. Or 1 day, not 1 month, 1 day. But subsequent to that, every other month that they get salaries, they will no longer have to be given time off from work in order to draw cash, because then they will be able to draw cash any point of time. So you look at the overall productivity gains as more and more of these people come into digital rather than remain in the cash area. I think overall it's a very good step that's been taken. We are also seeing a very good pickup in the digital, in the POS transactions at our end. POS transactions in fact have increased 100% by numbers and around 50% by value. So we are doing very well over there. Our business correspondents are also doing very good work. So to that extent, I believe, this is an excellent move and it is pushing us in the right direction.
But what about some of the, the far-reaching consequences? You sort of alluded to it as well. Like, take for example, job losses. There have been reports in Kerala and Tamil Nadu that fishermen have stopped fishing. Small shops are facing the prospect of going out of business. So what about that?
I don't think there will be job losses. Fishermen were fishing because they had to supply fish to the market. And that market had to be visited by shoppers in order to buy the fish. Now, for a little while, shoppers were hoarding whatever currency they were getting because of the uncertainties. Now that more and more currency is coming into the market, people will not stop eating. They are going to go back to the fish markets and buy fish. I can tell you, for that matter, my own caretaker at home has gone to buy fish today in the market. So I think they will be back in business, don't worry.
Okay, let's talk about people with the Indian currency abroad, who are facing problem, and we've been inundated actually with a lot of queries. Reports are also suggesting that people have been turned away, including from SBI branches in the US, mind you, where banks have been told not to exchange. What are the options before those people, those who live abroad or who are, traveling at this point?
See, branches in the US or in any other place, they are not authorized to accept Indian currency. You are not supposed to be taking Indian currency abroad. Indian currency is not a convertible currency. Now, whatever little you have over there, if you want it deposited in your NRE account and you are unable to travel to this place, you should send a photocopy of your ID properly attested along with an authorization letter to the person who will actually deposit for you. If that is done, then we will take it in the accounts. No questions asked. But frankly speaking, abroad we are not authorized to accept Indian currency and they cannot accept it.
Let me ask you then, what will happen to the foreign exchange business as such? What will this do, you think, to the rupee exchange rate, at least in the short term?
I don't think there will be any impact. Why should there be any impact on the rupee exchange rate? Whenever you are exchanging rupee and taking dollars, you are taking it in the through the proper banking channels. So why should it impact the forex rates? In fact, even when the FCNB deposits have gone back and they have been consistently going back, have you seen any impact on the rupee? The exchange rate has been very well maintained by everybody in the system, and especially the regulators. I don't see any problem on the exchange rates at all.
Let's talk about a little bit more about, some of the specifics you gave us about your bank itself. You said so far you've seen deposits of over 64,000 crore rupees at the end of, December 30th. I'm sure banks like yours will be flush with cash. There's talk about how lending rates will then come down. But that doesn't really solve your problem fully because, credit demand continues to be sluggish, isn't it? So in a sense, you're sort of expanding your liability side. How are you assessing that?
Well, that will be a temporary problem because obviously credit growth is still sluggish. We need credit growth to pick up. Probably this will give us the impetus of trying and bringing down rates a little more. Obviously, just bringing down rates is not going to suddenly, set off a credit boom. Credit booms happen when demand goes up in the economy and the economy itself is performing very, very well. But last month's IIP figures were actually quite good. Also, luckily the busy season is here. And in the busy season, as you know, construction activity, mining activity, all of these get resumed because during monsoon, these are actually suspended. So we are hoping those are the things that will give us certain triggers for the economy to start performing better again. Similarly, we have seen some amount of better demand on the back of the 7th Pay Commission, on the back of the good monsoons. As you know, in respect of the monsoons, the harvests have started coming in from the 1st of November. So that money also will be hitting the rural population and there will definitely be more demand in the rural masses. So going forward, the situation is good. Short term, there could be imbalances, there could be pains, no doubt about that. As you are very right, the liability side will go up, so our requirement for payment of interest will obviously go up. But in the longer space, I think this is a very good way of bringing cash into the formal system so as to enable that formal system to be able to lend and to lend at better rates.
So do you suspect that, in the short term, retail demand may dry up, especially in, say, real estate as well as the auto sector, for example?
No, I don't think so, because the real estate sector that we address are mainly the salaried classes, the middle income people. Actually speaking, the first time buys. Nowadays, I find what people tell me is it's mostly almost in white. It is the repurchases, etc., where we understand that there could be some unaccounted elements. So first time buys, and for the class that we are traditionally servicing, I don't think there is going to be any change. Yes, temporarily, because everybody is now worried about cash, but once this worry abates, I think everything will come back, and I would repeatedly say that there are no worries about cash. Things will come back. It is only a temporary kind of a mismatch on account of various logistics issue that couldn't be addressed ahead and are getting addressed now. And then over a period of time, these will all sort themselves out. In the meanwhile, I again exhort people to use as much of alternate channels as possible, especially the electronic digital channels. Our wallets are available, other means are available, debit cards, credit cards, everything is available. So people should get used to using more and more of those.
Ma'am, if I can just use the opportunity to also get a sense of what the outlook at your bank for credit growth this fiscal is, both from, say, the corporate side as well as retail growth?
See, the credit growth outlook that I gave in the investors conference also is between 10 to 12%. Okay, we will try and take another call on it at the end of this quarter because I want to see what actually happens during this quarter before giving a more precise number. But at this point of time, 10 to 12%, and I think towards the lower end rather than the higher end, mainly because within the bank itself also we are doing certain recalibrations. We are seeing which are the lines of business that have a good prognosis going forward in the sense of returns as well as peripheral businesses. Those lines that are low on these two parameters are lines that we may not really be focusing on anymore. So there are internal changes in that also that we are making. Having said that, I still believe around 10 to 12% should be feasible and reasonable.
Which are the sectors that led to higher slippages of that, 10,000 crore rupees during the quarter?
Well, the slippages came mainly from the stress list. Around 71% came from the stress list, another 4 to 5 came from the restructured book. So it was all across. It was iron and steel, it was shipping, it was, I think, a little bit of infra was there as well. One power unit that was there on the stress list, that was there. So it was there all across.
Do you sort of see better days ahead? Do you see lower slippages, better recoveries? What's the outlook on asset quality?
See, this will happen only when we are able to get some very good resolutions going. I said again in the investors conference and probably in the press conference that we have greater visibility about the resolutions. So right now, though we may be spending our entire 24 hours and more in only working on the demonetization exercise, but the resolution piece is what normally takes up much of our time. And in another 5 to 7 days, I think we will turn our attention towards that again. And I fully expect that some amounts of resolution should get done in the December quarter, by the end of the December quarter itself, and very many of them should happen in the January to March quarter, because the formalities that were required to be done in many of them, such as the forensic audit, the TEV study, all of those reports are already, the draft reports are with us, the final reports are on the way. As soon as these come in, then the rest of the stuff can fall in place. In the meanwhile, as you are aware, the regulator has also allowed us some amount of flexibility by including other sectors, by including accounts with smaller credit lines. So all of that will also help speed up the resolution piece.
Ma'am, your loan book growth was lower at about 7%, even as you yourself emphasized that deposits grew pretty strongly. This is my last question, really. What's your outlook for FY17 in terms of deposits, given that, at least this demonetization drive has made you flush with cash?
See, it's very difficult to tell you at this point of time. On the very first day, we got 11,000 crores in savings bank, as opposed to what we get 8,000 crores in the whole year. Okay, so this was one day, sorry, not whole year, whole month. So we get 8,000 in a month. Instead of that, we got 11,000 in a day. Okay, we also got around 7,500 in current account. All right.
Right.
So obviously, it's difficult for me to do any projections right now. This is an unusual situation. You can't make projections on the basis of unusual circumstances. Also, people will obviously start drawing it out again. They are waiting for when the new 500 comes in and 2000 comes in. So they will start drawing out the money also. So we have to wait a little while. Maybe end of this month I can make a better informed projection as to deposit growths.
All right, ma'am, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much. It's been a week of unusuals, hasn't it? But we really appreciate you taking time out, and really kudos to you and your bank for all the hard work that you're putting there. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks so much. With that, we'll wrap it up on this special Sunday broadcast that was, of course, a mega exclusive with Arundhati Bhattacharya. She was here talking to us about the latest on the government's cash cleanup, and as you heard her say on the record, that she expects normalcy to return within the next 2 weeks. Thanks so much for joining in on this special broadcast.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.